Welcome to The Lineman Life, a podcast for power professionals. Here's your host, David Spooner.
How's it going, everybody? What would you say if I told you you had the power to make your yard a safer place to work? Back when I was an apprentice, I had the opportunity to work with many good linemen. One of the linemen I worked with, his name was Everett Smoke, but his nickname was Smokey. Now, Smokey was your typical lineman, had a great lineman beard, almost ZZ Top quality, and he's kind of a big guy, kind of heavy set guy, and Smokey did not tolerate apprentices too well. He was very quick to call you out on anything that you were doing wrong. Back in those days, we could actually do some primary work with only two people. So Smokey and I had a job. I was doing the groundwork for him. And the job was to change out a insulator that had been shot with a rifle. So some of the petticoats were broken. It was a three-phase line, a slight angle, and it was kind of a newer line also. Now I noticed when Smokey went up in the bucket, he only took 2 hoses with him. So Smokey's in the process of changing out this insulator. So he put a hose on each side of the insulator and he untied it and he was getting ready to pick it up out of the insulator and slide the 2 hoses together when the wire actually rolled off the insulator and landed on the cross arm. Now, since this was a newer installation, the cross arm was still a little bit wet with creosote and it caused the arc and actually it knocked the line out. As soon as this happened, Smokey turned his wrath towards me down on the ground. Why didn't you give me some blankets? Why didn't you say something? And I was thinking, dude, how is this my fault? You're the one that went up there with the wrong, not enough hoses and blankets and stuff. How is this my fault? So finally, after Smokey came down, we got the line heated back up, finally got the insulator changed out. Smokey came back down and started talking to me. And he pulled me to the side. And he told me, if you ever see somebody not following safety rules or see something out of the ordinary, you've got to say something. I explained to him, I was just an apprentice. You got a reputation. I'm a little bit hesitant to tell you what to do. He told me, look, just point out the problem. You don't have to be an asshole about it. If they listen, fine. If they don't, you did your duty. So Smokey asked me, do you care about the guys that you work with? And of course my answer was, absolutely. I love the guys that I work with. So he told me, don't ever worry about pointing something out. Just do it with a caring attitude and you'll be fine. I was totally shocked. A caring attitude? I didn't know Smokey had a caring attitude in his vocabulary. It seemed even very funny coming out of his mouth. This guy had been tormenting me for a couple years and talking about having a caring attitude. I just could hardly believe it. How many times have you seen other linemen breaking safety rules and just let it go? When you get on the crew, everybody's comfortable. Sometimes things go on that really shouldn't. You have the power to make your crew a safer place to work. You have the power to make sure people go home at the end of the day. You've got far more power than your manager or your safety man who holds meetings and comes out and does observations. You have much more power than they do to keep people safe. And that power is peer pressure. And peer pressure, it works in our business. Peer pressure is usually looked upon as a bad thing, but if it's used correctly, it's a good thing. If all linemen held each other accountable, we'd have a lot less accidents. Sometimes a few well-placed words can turn an unsafe act that could get somebody hurt into a much safer outcome. Now, calling somebody out on something it does have its disadvantages. You could be subject to ridicule, calling somebody out. Oh well, now you're that guy now. You're Mr. Safety. Every safety transgression that you've ever done in your whole career, and somebody witnessed you do it, it could be thrown back in your face by whoever you're talking to, your crew members. What about the time you didn't ground that line? Well, you just did the same thing last week. Those could be very common replies. But I'll tell you, it's worth the risk of having what you said turned around on you every time. Just like Smokey taught me, the way you come across to the person breaking the rule, it's got a lot to do with the outcome. It's got to come from a place of caring. Using, that power of peer pressure as a got you, that's never going to work. Nobody's perfect, including yourself. And if you don't come across as caring, it's certainly going to be thrown back in your face when you mess up. And unfortunately, we all mess up at some time. I'm reminded of a story about two different linemen on two different crews. The first lineman, he sees his coworker with no hard hat on and starts yelling, "Get your hard hat on now, you dumbass. You know it's required." His coworker goes over to his truck, gets his hard hat on. Different crew. Lineman number 2 sees the exact same situation with his coworker. So this lineman goes to his truck and finds, the worker's hard hat and brings it to his coworker. "Please wear this. It's for your own protection." Which lineman has the caring attitude? When you get some time, go online to the OSHA website and do a search on accident results and put in there powerlineworker. Now read a few of those things that are on there, and you can see what kind of issues we're having as linemen. Many times, I'd say 50% of the time on this in these accidents, safety rules were not followed, and people got hurt or killed. Many times these accidents could have been prevented if somebody had just spoken up, used a little peer pressure, a caring attitude, and it'd been a better outcome for everybody. We can have the biggest outcome on our crews when it comes to safety. Use that peer pressure and a caring attitude to make things better on your crew. My lineman Smokey has been dead for many, many years, but I still remember that day when he taught me about having a caring attitude. No matter how much of a hard-ass lineman you are or think you are, there's times when a little caring could help you save somebody's life. Brother Smokey would be proud of you. There's a poem written by a guy named Don Merrill who illustrates this caring attitude perfectly. I could have saved a life that day, but I chose to look the other way. It wasn't that I didn't care. I had the time, and I was there. But I didn't want to seem a fool or argue over a safety rule. I knew he'd done the job before. If I spoke up, he might get sore. The chances didn't seem that bad. I'd done the same. He knew I had. So I shook my head and walked on by. He knew the risk as well as I. He took the chance. I closed an eye, and with that act, I let him die. I could have saved a life that day, but I chose to look the other way. Now every time I see his wife, I'll know I should have saved his life. That guilt is something I must bear, but it isn't something you need share. If you see a risk that others take that puts their health or life at stake, the question asked or thing you say could help them have another day. If you see a risk and walk away, then hope you'll never have to say, I could have saved a life that day, but I chose to look the other way. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Head over to thelineman.life. There you can subscribe to my channel. Also, if you want to see, take a look at what I look like, you can head on over to, I'm now on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in the search box, The Lineman Life. And I should pop up there somewhere. So again, appreciate everybody listening. Keep safe and remember, you are your